This segment of Labatt Buffalo Main Event is brought to you by Kaz Electronics, your gadget source with referral rewards.
We're back on Labatt Buffalo Main Event. I'm Brad Ryder. Jeremy White rejoins me in just a moment, but for now, joined by Mike McDonald, basketball coach at Medaille, kind enough to join us to talk a bit about the NCAA tournament as the field has been announced. But before we even get to that, tell us a bit about the upcoming basketball camp you're running.
Well, we have 2 weeks, July 7th to the 11th and August 4th to 8th, Brad, and we're looking forward to having kids anywhere from ages 6 to 14.
6 to 14, not 33?
No, we could try and squeeze you in.
Yeah, I don't know.
They would say, who's got the big kid?
Yeah.
Who's got the big guy?
I'll cover him. The tournament field has been announced. And actually, before we even get to that, how can people find out more about the
Call 716-880-2347.
Okay. Tournament field rather has been announced.
You're thinking about camp. You want to be a camper, don't you?
I want to go camping, yeah. UNC, Kansas, Memphis, UCLA are the 4-1 seeds. Are they the right choice?
I think so. I think so. You know, there's not a big difference this year between the 1s and the 2s, especially Memphis and Carolina definitely earned their way to be the top 2 seeds. It was kind of funny who was going to be those other 2 number 1 seeds. Kansas earned it by winning the Big 12 title.
Does any of them have a tougher draw looking at it? Really, do you believe in the concept of a tough draw?
I think so, Brad. I think there can be tougher brackets. Now, again, things have to play out and form has to hold. There might be some upsets, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, there's an 11 seed playing a 2 seed, and then, boy, that was a pretty easy game for them. But you look at Carolina's bracket in the East, and Carolina's supposed to be the overall number 1 seed. They should have an easier go of it. But they have Louisville. They have Notre Dame, who's good. I like Washington State. I think is a pretty good team that could make a little bit of a run. Tennessee, who, you know what, a couple weeks ago would have been a number 1 seed easily, a lock, and maybe the number 1 seed for the entire tournament, dropped all the way to the 8th seed. Now they're the number 2 playing with Carolina. Carolina has a tough road to get to San Antonio.
How much do you look at the travel involved when trying to determine who's got an easy road, who's got a tough road?
Well, I think this is not the 40s where they're taking trains across the country in the 50s. So I think there is a factor into it. I think the bigger thing to look at, Brad, is sometimes, for example, a home court advantage. Memphis, being a number 1 seed, being the 2nd seed in the tournament, should have a good draw. Well, you know what? If form holds and they're playing Texas in the Elite 8 to get to the Final Four, that game's going to be in Houston. That's a lot closer to Texas's campus than it is to Memphis's campus. So I think that's an unfair draw in some ways. North Carolina is not going to have to leave the state of North Carolina in order to get to the Final Four. That's a huge advantage.
I heard Seth Greenberg, head coach at Virginia Tech, talking. Of course, he's not in, so now he wants a bigger field. Do you think the system's okay? And I know from your background, you're probably biased a little bit toward getting those mid-major teams in there, but how is the system as you see it right now?
Well, you're always going to have somebody out. Even if you expanded and let 5 or 6 more teams in, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are going to be complaining, well, geez, we're just as good as as Virginia Tech and Syracuse or whoever they did let in. So there's always going to be somebody on the outside looking in. That's the part of the tournament. I've always been of the belief that, you know what, everybody is in the tournament. Seth Greenberg and Virginia Tech had a chance to get to the NCAA tournament. They had to do what Georgia did and win their conference tournament. They had to win the ACC tournament. They came very close to beat North Carolina. I agree with them. They were playing great at the end of the year. You can make a case that they're better than Villanova. They're better than Oregon. They're better than some of those other teams. But in the end, it's going to, when you leave your fate up to a committee, you might not get the chance. That's why you have to do what the Georgia Bulldogs did, run the table, win your conference tournament. It makes it tougher, but that's kind of the position you put yourself in by not having a great regular season.
Can you plan for the tournament? I know as a mid-major you might want to schedule a little bigger to try to increase your RPI, and that works for the conference as well. But if you are one of these teams that's in a major conference, is there any way to plan? You just got to go out there and win your games.
In a major conference, you got to win your games. Now, what the committee's trying to do, and I think the Arizona versus Arizona State argument is what they're trying to say is, look, Arizona State didn't play. They beat Xavier at Arizona State. Otherwise, they didn't play anybody non-conference-wise. Arizona, on the other hand, played one of the toughest non-conference schedules in the entire country. And they're trying to reward Arizona, saying, hey, even though Arizona State beat Arizona twice during the year, we're looking at the whole body of work. Now, when you factor in the mid-majors, I think that's all phony baloney, because you know what? And I could probably say worse words, but we're on the air. It's cable. Can I do that?
No.
No, okay, all right. But the mid-majors don't have the opportunity to go play. Arizona State can afford to buy teams to come to Arizona. It's sunny. It's warm in December. I know I took a team at Canisius. We went out to Arizona State. It's a lot nicer than being in Buffalo in January during a snowstorm. We went out and played, got a big check, and Arizona State got a win. And Arizona State can pad their schedule by bringing teams in and playing those non-conference games. They're guarantee games, and the guarantee means we guarantee we're going to pay you money, and we guarantee we're going to win. And that's the way it works. Mid-majors don't have that opportunity. It's tough for a George Mason, for a Butler, to have somebody come into Indianapolis and say, we're going to play you. It doesn't always work that way.
Do you see any major snubs in this year's field, or any teams that you think don't belong?
Now, after we've said all that, Arizona State, I think, I've always been of the belief that you should be over 500 in your conference to make the NCAA tournament. Arizona's not over 500 in their conference. I think you can make a case then for Arizona State to get the bid that Arizona got. But I can understand a little bit why the committee picked the Wildcats.
Mike, we're just about out of time, but before we let you go, one of your former players, Brian Dukes, with the unfortunate accident in Europe, he's now back here in Western New York. What can you tell us about him and what's going on?
Well, Brian's getting better, and thanks for asking, Brad. And we're doing a fundraiser. We have the Brian Dukes Assist Fund, and there's going to be the main event is a big fundraiser on April 5th in the Town Ballroom on Main Street in Buffalo. It's going to go from, I think, 6 o'clock to 11, or it might even go later, who knows, but it should be a lot of fun. It's going to be friendly for kids. It's going to be, the NCAA Final Four games will be on, so you can watch the games. There's going to be food from all over Western New York. We have bands playing. There are tickets you can get at tickets.com. You can go on the website, briandukesAssistFund.com, and you can order tickets. Tickets are $30, and you're going to support a great cause and help really a Western New York legend, if I can use that word, help recover from a terrible accident.
Thanks, Mike. We'll have all of that information on our website, BuffaloMainEvent.com. Back in just a moment with Jeremy White to wrap things up with our closing commentary here on Labatt Buffalo Main Event.
It's so normal to feel this overwhelming pressure to just have to do it all. We understand what that's like. Bristol Home and Bristol Village and any other residence that's out there will tell you we see it every day, day in and day out. Families come in, and usually it's at that point where they say, we just don't know what to do anymore. So think about it, don't feel as though you're alone, and ask for help. Early intervention is key. Planning ahead is key.
Bristol Home and Bristol Village, assisted living where family matters.